So in this video, we're going to talk about how to remove Audi third brake lights. We're going to unroll some film onto the back window, and we're going to talk a little bit more about how to shrink a back window. So this is a brand new 22 Audi A4, and it looks like we're all free and clear of a brake light. No worries, but wait, no. Yep, it's got that regular Audi third brake light with a headliner blocking access to it, and it really is very annoying. You have to remove these if you want a nice clean look on your back window. Otherwise, you have no fret border to kind of mask things off. So if we look a little closer, there's a couple of metal clips here. So these are nothing more than pressure fit. So what I'll do is I'll slide my fingers at the edge of the brake light, and then I'll pull on both sides and just do it as straightforward as possible, keeping the brake light as close to the back window as I can. So if you pull down too hard on it, the brake light will tend to hook and it's not going to pull forward. So always wedge it up towards the top. If you can get a pry tool behind it, do that, but the headliner kind of gets in the way. So as long as it's not too snug in there, most of them will pull forward. So your mileage will vary on something like this though. Other than that, you got this little clip here. This will vary from brake light to brake light, but they're all very similar. Once you get that removed, then we're gonna glass aid the rest of the back window. I'm gonna take a dryer sheet, I'm gonna wet it down, and then I'm going to wipe all that crap all over my back window that I just cleaned off, because we're setting it up for dry shrinking. So once I layer this all over the back window, I then let it dry. I unroll my film over the entire back window. I cut it to basically a couple inches excess film on the top and the bottom, and then also I trim off the sides a little bit slimmer. So now I just got a big bulky piece of film on my back glass. Then I'm gonna kind of let it float, center it, tag it down with a felt card, get it all set up for shrinking. So then I take my Wagner heat gun. This is the cheapest Wagner heat gun, and I use these all the time. They're great. Hold the heat gun at a 45-degree angle, keep it a few inches away from the tint, and definitely you're gonna notice a few things. One, the heat gun is always moving, and two, I never smooth out the film any lower than what I've shrunk. So you can basically draw a straight line here, and wherever I pointed the heat gun and I waited for that film to kind of lay softly sideways, that's where I'm gonna hard card, or that's where I'm gonna take the felt card and tack the film down and just kind of smooth it out. So the heat gun is always doing the work. I'm always watching how the film is relaxing onto the glass. And the more you shrink it, the tighter that's going to be to the glass and the sharper those lines are going to be. So when they're kind of a little floaty, a little softer, that is a good time to then smooth it out. And all we're doing with the felt card is smoothing out the film. That's it. Imagine it's fabric, and now it's fit to size, and then we just smooth it out. So this is all the film that I need to shrink on the driver's side at the bottom. So just these big chunky fingers. You can see in the middle they're a lot smaller. On the side of the window it's a lot bigger. That's because that's where most of the curve is for the glass. So I start at the highest point and I bring that down and I kind of match it up evenly. And then see, I got much more material over on the side. Readjust my fingers a little bit. And then I'm just letting the heat gun do the work here. Just taking that heat, watching those big bulky fingers smooth out. And it really is this smooth. So just always watch what the film is doing before you go to card it out. You need to recognize that the film is relaxed on the glass, and don't just press it down. Don't put some heat on it and think, oh, hey, I shrunk it. That means I can press it down now, right? No, you have to watch what it's doing, and then you can press it down. So once it looks very relaxed on the glass, that's where it's totally fine. And you notice in this area, I stopped pressing the film down here. If I were to take my felt card, press it into those fingers a little bit, they're going to sharpen up even more, and I would cause a crease. I don't want to cause a crease, so see how they're just kind of pointing up there? Then I'm going to take the heat gun again, and I'm going to bring it right over those fingers, and then knock those suckers down. Now they're looking just like the rest of the window. Nice and floaty, little sideways, and then we smooth it out. Boom, just like that. Along that glass aid line, I can definitely put a lot more heat and just kind of smooth out that line, just kind of like tighten things up. But we'll get into that a little bit later. Here we're gonna focus a little bit more on the top. I already did the other side. I'm gonna jump back over and at least show it. The focus on the camera was a little screwy. But here you can see just the heat gun doing all the work. I don't even have to take the felt card if I don't want to. But you see this left edge here? It's all kind of tight there. So if I let it tighten up too much, it's gonna be impossible for me to card down. It's just not gonna wanna lay flat. So that is what too much shrinking is gonna do to your back window. It's gonna screw up the entire thing. So you just wanna shrink it enough for those lines to softly go sideways, and then you can press the film down. So if you're getting creases in your back window, especially up towards the top corners, you need to slow down. You need to let off the heat a little bit, take a little bit more time, and just let the film relax. And then you can shrink it and get it all to lay down. Shrinking is kind of a hard thing to explain. It really is. So much of it is by sight and feel. So pay more attention to what I'm doing rather than what I'm saying here a lot of the time. Get that all shrunk. Once I'm past the line, I'm totally fine. Let me hop over to the passenger side here. Again, you see how there's more material there on the corner than there is on like in the center. So the corners are always going to give you the biggest headache. That's probably the number one thing I hear about back windows. Everything went fine except for the top corners. Well, that's where all the film is going to bunch up the most. So a little bit of pole shrinking here. I just lift the film right off of the glass. Heat it up and get it to lay down. I'm doing basically anything and everything that I can to get this film to smooth out and flatten out. And then I'm going to take the heat and then shrink where I need to shrink. But you'll notice in this entire video, I never focus the heat gun too much on one particular spot. If I have it kind of sitting in an area, I'm kind of wiggling the heat gun a little bit. I'm making sure everything is always moving. So from here, the back glass is shrunk. So then I'm just gonna take a light, shine it through the film, cut right in the middle of the glass aid line. This gives me a nice 1/8 inch border all the way around the window. Then I'll peel away the excess film. Then I'll take off the glass aid line. Anytime I cut away the film, that is going to disturb your shrinking lines a little bit. So sometimes you can have little fingers pop up. So I'll always take the heat gun after I remove the glass aid line, and then I will re-shrink all my edges. I do that regardless if I use glass aid or not. Then pull the entire liner, spray all the film down. Here in the next video, I'll probably get a better angle on this, but then I pick the film up off of the glass and I carry it into the car. This is the Frankenstein method, so we'll definitely talk a little bit more about how I pick it up off the glass. It was just a challenging thing to record. But when I get it situated inside the car, you'll notice the top is hanging off the back window. The bottom is just pressed against the bottom of the glass. And then all I do is shuffle the film down and then put a little bit up on the glass. And then once I get it all the way to the very bottom, that's when the rest of it is okay to set on the entire back window. This Audi is super tight on the inside, so all your cuts need to be very slim. You don't have a lot of space to work with, so don't be surprised if you have a really frustrating day with an Audi or a VW, specifically the Jettas or the Passats. They're built differently. They're built a little tighter. So whenever you're checking the inside of a back window to see how much room you have to work with, check all the edges and the paneling and stuff. When you have a nice wide border, that's going to be an easier back window for you to tint. So from here, we just squeegee the whole thing out. We clean the entire glass off, and then we touch up anything that might still be protruding from the sides, like any little water pockets and stuff. But there we go. Full back window. Live stream is on the channel. Thanks for watching.